Becky. No. No. We just started, silly. You didn't miss nothing. Hey, 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 hey. And after I've got a list of questions from people, and whatnot, and so we're just going to kind of go through that. And if I miss anything, please type it in the chat. And if not, we are going to open boxes. I don't know who that is. I mean, but okay. Who's that? Who's that lonely girl? I don't know. That's fine. But at the end, we will open boxes if people want to come up. But I'm only going to do one person up in the box at times, so that way people don't overtalk themselves, each other, and just make sure that it's respectful. And yeah, all right. So Jonathan, I'm going to send you a box request. Can you type in the chat, or do you know how to request a box, Avina and Jonathan? Just type chat at the bottom of their page. There is 2 people that are pink and blue. Click on that, and it'll say request. Very good. Good job. See, look at you going. You're learning all about this TikTok stuff. Very proud of you. Okay, 1 second. Now I just got to get my phone to act right. All right, let me know. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello.
All right. Hi guys, how are you?
Good.
Good. All right, I just want to make sure my moderators were ready for you and everything like that. Try the best as much as you can. Don't look at the comments so you don't get overwhelmed, because that's how you get sidetracked. And yeah, are you guys ready?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just going to kind of be like when you and I talked about, what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to ask any personal questions. You have every right to talk about stuff, and you have every right to tell me no. We are going to leave Alexander out of it as much as possible, for the simple fact that he is still a minor child. And, he has friends that see TikTok, and he's already been made fun of because of his mom being on TikTok. So we're going to leave him out of the equation as much as possible.
Right.
Very good. All right, and then just remember, use code words. Can't say, whatever. Can't say unaliving. You guys say unaliving, hugs, all that good jazz. All right, well, why don't you introduce yourself to the people, even though they basically all know you, but whatever. Just tell them who you are and how you're related to Becky and David.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. My name's Jonathan. I am related to the Fortney family. I am my dad's oldest son, and I am Becky's stepson, but I don't really acknowledge her as a parental figure in my life.
And then, do you want to talk about how your family tree per se goes? So you have 2 older sisters, correct?
I'm the oldest of them, of all my siblings.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't even know that. I thought you were in the middle. I thought the girls were older than you. So never mind. See,
Nope.
I'm learning something too. Very good. Okay, so it goes you, then the girls, and then Carl, and then Alexander.
Yeah.
Okay, and then do you and the girls have the same mom and dad, or what's different between you guys in regards to that?
So I have a sister that is close blood relation to me, that was born by the same mom, same dad, but not the woman that y'all known on TikTok. A different mother who was involved years ago when I was born, from 1993, and then my sister was born in 1995, and then my other sister came at least a few years later in the early 2000s, and she has a different mom. Okay. And then eventually there is the one that dad is married to currently.
Right. Okay, gotcha. So do you have relationships with those sisters still? How is your relationship with those girls?
I have talked to them at least on occasions, and our relationship, I say, is pretty good. We're not as close as we used to be, but we're close enough.
Right. And the only reason how come I asked that is because Becky has brought the girls up because they have children, and so we've got on her butt because she will call them, quote unquote, this is from her, she will call those kids colored, and we have corrected and said they are biracial, and trying to correct. So Becky has brought the girls up. That's why I have asked about the girls, but we are not going to talk about them anymore because they're not here to stick up for themselves or whatever. So they are.
Well, if I may say something, my sisters are not colored or biracial or anything. They're solid Caucasian.
No, but I'm talking about they have kids, don't they? That are.
Oh yeah.
Biracial. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
My closest sister has a child that is mixed or biracial or whatever you want to label him as. He's my nephew and a good kid. And then there's my other sister who has two little Caucasian children that are also beautiful and good looking and blonde hair.
Very good. Okay. All right. And then David doesn't have any relationship with those girls anymore. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. He has some way, some form, I've heard, verbally mistreated them in some such ways. I don't really know all of the details. I know, though, a little bit with the one that I'm most closest with that I've known since childhood that I grew up with. And that's the one that has her son, my nephew. Right. And she's expressed a lot to me about dad and that whole scenario. And it's not a good situation, and which I respect my sister that if she chooses to not want to have anything to do with her dad.
Right. Well, so just so you know, off of the lives that we've all watched, we have heard from that household themselves that they want nothing to do with him. A, because of David's drinking, so they are definitely, putting up healthy boundaries, which is very respectful. And then the fact that at one point that David called, I don't know if it's her boyfriend or her fiance or her significant other, that's the word I'll use, the N slur. And so that was where she drew the line and said, forget it, I'm not gonna, that's, my significant other, and, put up those boundaries. And so we have heard that from the live itself from Becky. So that's what we know, and that's as far as we know. But it's all we need to know because they're not here to defend themselves and such. So does David have custody of the girls, or did he lose custody of the girls and yourself? How did that go with custody in regards to David?
So years ago, before my other sister and before my youngest brother was ever born, before they were even a thought, and his other their two marriages, after when it was with my mom, they got divorced, they had their issues, and then yes, he lost custody due to involving with a bit of his drinking and other marital problems. And my grandma had to raise my sister and I. So we were being raised then by his mom throughout most of our life.
Okay, and that's the grandma that's currently in South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, okay. So I know her name. I won't say it because some people may not know it, but I just know that Becky has announced that that's where South Carolina, or she's in South Carolina because she said every time that her and David get into a fight that he's going to go live with mom in South Carolina, blah, 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 blah. But we all very correctly know that mom does not want David there either because of the drinking issues and stuff like that. They're kind of throwing in the towel. Is that correct?
Yeah. My grandma does not want her son there if he's going to keep on drinking and everything. Especially, most of all, she does not want his wife there either because she's never approved of his marriage to her ever since they got together. And being that how Becky is, you've all seen how she is and how she likes to lie, manipulate, play people and everything, and talk a bunch of mad smack to people. I mean, it's that sort of stuff that has turned my grandma off completely in the approval of her. And so, if my dad was to go there, he has to not drink, and he can't bring her with.
Right. Well, right, because I can just see her, unfortunately, causing a lot of chaos, and I'm sure if she has a peaceful household that, just causing chaos, and, that's what, understood, definitely understand. Dandy, do you need a box? Because you requested one. Did you want one, or did you just accidentally hit it? Okay, well, whatever, we're going to ignore her. So, hold on, I should have had this really more organized. So this is going to kind of be like popcorn. I guess I'm not really going to waste too much people's time freaking going on order. So you said, all right. Do you remember the day that you met Becky? How old were you? And was it in South Carolina? My goodness, South Dakota or Las Vegas? And what was your initial thought of Becky when you met her?
Well, at first, I was, I believe, at the time, 16, turning 17, and I spent a summer out here back in 2010 to 2011, somewhere in proximity timeline frame of those 2 years, kind of close by. And so when I went out here, I spent the summer, and my first impression of her, I thought she was okay, because I didn't know her back then that well, until then eventually down the road, I started to realize that anything I said or any kind of like privacy or conversations I wanted to have, like with my grandma on the phone, just to keep tabs with her about what was going on, she would take anything I would say and twist it and turn it around to make my dad get on me and have him and I be at odds with each other. So then I felt uncomfortable. And I then, after a certain point in time, when something happened between me and Carl and these two young girls, that he had an issue with, it involved my safety. So I ended up having grandma come and get me because it was involving my life turning for the worst. And so my dad, when he found out, he wasn't going to have that happen to me. So he had his mom come out and pick me up to take me back home.
Right. Okay. So you were only in her presence for one summer, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. And so obviously I know why you went back to Las Vegas. Without giving too much detail, do you want to say what happened with you and Carl and why? I mean, you can go very skim. You don't have to go into details like you and I talked about. What caused like the final nail in the coffin in regards to you going back home?
It was a particular certain day in the summer. We went outside, him and I, to go hang out. And as we're hanging out, there was these two little girls that he apparently was friends with.
Okay, hold on, Jonathan. I just want to say this could be a possible trigger warning, just so you guys know. So, okay. Sorry, Jonathan. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
And honestly, I honestly don't remember how old they were back then, but I know they were little, so that way everyone's aware. Because it's been a long time since this ever happened, and it hadn't happened since then. So, but yeah, we went outside. He wanted to hang out with them, and they were out and about, just playing, doing their thing. And then he introduces me to them, so I'm having to supervise him because his mom asked me to as well. Because at the time he was too young himself to be out by himself. So I'm just out there monitoring and everything. And then I decided to call my grandma, and I was just talking to her about other things that I was experiencing over there at their house. And while I was outside not paying attention, then all of a sudden I hear screaming happening, and Carl's like doing something to them. So then later on, I go inside and I tell his mom, and then eventually everything just took a turn for the worst. And then eventually involved police getting involved, eventually then FBI getting involved, and then of course me then getting blamed for his own actions by his own mouth.
Okay.
And I had nothing to do with it.
Okay. Do you want to say what we were being accused of without going into too much detail, or would you prefer to skip that part?
He was just basically trying to accuse me of doing something sexually inappropriate towards those girls that he was doing.
Right. So basically, he was exactly roundup. Yep. And it was how many?
Two of them.
Two girls. Okay. And then, so that's what caused him to go back to Las Vegas, is because
No, me. I went back
no,
to Las
I
Vegas.
know that's what I'm saying. You.
Oh.
You silly. Sorry, I just sounded clear. So Rhonda's wondering, at the time of this whole incident, when like you were being investigated by the FBI, how old was Carl? So you were how old, and how old was Carl?
If I remember, he was 8, I think.
Okay, and then so he was trying to sexually, take advantage of other younger. Were they younger girls or were they older girls?
They were young, very young.
Very good. Okay. Was he ever convicted of that, or how did that end up kiboshing?
Eventually, after some time, there was more problems in their house that led to where Carl eventually got taken out of their home by the state, ended up in the state's custody. And so Becky lost her parents' rights due to everything. And so he had to then be in the system for a while, being bounced between her and their house and her mom's house, his grandma's Faye's house at the time when she had one. And then with the bouncing around, he was then in a few facilities. Eventually, for a time, he did get to come back home for a time, and then did something else to then another girl in his teen years when he had some other friends when going to school out here. Then he got sent back into then another facility again for a longer time.
Okay. So that's why. So Becky, how long did Becky actually have custody of Carl? Because from what it sounded like, it was not very long.
No, it was not very long. She barely had custody of him after, since he was 8 years old. Technically, all custody of him went gone. Like, she basically, I think, only had him from the time he was born up until he was actually 8.
About 8, right when it started happening. Okay, and then so you ended up having the FBI watching you because they thought it was you, and obviously you were cleared of everything because it obviously was not you, and that's kind of where the the break of the family kind of went south, because I can only imagine how you felt being accused of something like that. I don't know why this freaking person keeps.
Oh, I was enraged when I heard that he tried to accuse me. I was mad. I was angry. Even my dad was furious about it, and my dad even had to have a stern talking with those people. He told me years later about their opinion of me and them investigating me poorly and them assuming the worst outcome because the law has, as you know, the mentality of believing the word of a minor child, and so they're going to take the one at the time who was 8 years old's word over mine. Though of course I was a minor myself back then, even though I was a teen.
Right, right. But yeah, I mean, that's still traumatic to deal with. So I will go ahead and go from that one. They keep on coming back, Pillow Princess, so just keep an eye on it. So, all right, so that was the true or false about Becky having custody. Did they ever lose custody of Alex at any time, or have they had custody the whole entire time?
Oh yeah, they kept custody of Alexander since the time he was born in 2020. So he's never been removed from the house at all for any issue.
Okay, gotcha. All right, we're just making sure, like, just because there was kind of some discrepancies if he ever did or whatnot. But that explains when Becky talks about Carl going to treatment and stuff like that, and that's where he was. And then as soon as he turned 18, so yeah, Alex was not born in 2020. Just let him have him. It's okay, guys. Alex was born in 2020. 2010. Yeah, you said 2020, which is fine. Yeah, it's fine. He's older. Yeah, okay, guys. It's okay, guys. So there was a time when David left Becky to go to Las Vegas and took Alexander. Do you know why he went to Las Vegas and left Becky and took Alex with him?
Yeah, so at this point in time, then it was around the year 2017. I was then in my early mid 20s, like about 23, 24, and I had just gotten married for the first time. So I invited my family out to this park at the lake in Mitchell, and there's this nice little location that has like a little table set like outing where you can like have food and everything. And so when I invited them over, dad was telling his mom, our grandma, about what his problems was and everything with his marriage and stuff and how he wanted to get out of it. And at the time we took him seriously. We even talked to him to it, me, my sister Ashley, and our grandma were all telling him, well, we can arrange this and that to happen. We can just take her somewhere, let her think one thing, and then have her believe everything's fine, because we knew that if she knew what was going to happen, she was going to interfere and try to stop it from happening. So then he agreed to then going with, and we helped him basically leave town as we drove him separately from her while grandma took Becky to a place to eat at, while me and my wife at the time, we drove him around town, just like basically helping him with whatever he needed, and then on top of getting his stuff. And then after that, then we met up somewhere, and after Becky was sent then back to their house, grandma then got him and his stuff in her vehicle and then took him with Alexander back to Las Vegas.
Gotcha. And what made him come back? Because how long was he actually gone for?
I think, if I can remember, it was either about maybe 3 months. Okay. And during that time, he then started having issues being there, and he ended up having some legal trouble with Henderson because they had something on him that they're claiming that he didn't serve full time for or didn't follow through with. And so he had to then go and sit in jail for a little bit out there until they figured it all out. And grandma had to help him with that. And then after that was done, well, then there was more problems where grandma had a problem with my brother and how he was acting at the time. As you've seen how Alexander is now, well, it was actually a lot different then. It was actually worse back then when he was younger, whereas him now is not so bad. He's actually improving. So, I mean, though, of course, the language barrier is a bit of a need of a fixer-upper sometimes.
Well, right.
So,
yeah, I mean, and he's also, like I've talked about, he's definitely a product. Alex is definitely a product of his, environment. He's brought up his whole life in chaos. Thankfully, you know what I'm saying, you were not, exposed to that whole lifestyle and stuff like that. People are asking, do you know anything about David being in the military, how much time he served, and stuff like that in regards to his military experience?
All I know is that he told me he was in the army, and I think it was when he was 18. I don't think his service of time there was very long because he was always sick, from what my grandma told me, and my dad confirmed that too, due to the fact that, as you know, he's had asthma all his life, even till now, and with also the I think it's OCPD that he has or something like that, or OCP
Yeah,
or something.
COPD. Yeah.
Yeah, and so with those health issues, he was worse off back then when he was younger, just badly sick, having these issues. And the military, they apparently, from what I heard, according to what Grandma told me, and him telling me the same thing, that they couldn't handle him being sick like that, so they had to discharge him, or the fact that my grandma had to make them discharge him because they wouldn't also, I guess, release him because they were trying to keep him in their medical hospital until they can figure out how to resolve his issues and then keep him in service. But that was not going to work out for him.
Right. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so basically his mom basically went to the head of the army. I don't know the correct word, the terminology, the colonel or whoever it is, to basically force them to medically discharge him so he wouldn't get more sick. Is that what you're basically saying?
Yeah, because it was just to the point to where he could have died, and his condition was not good back then. And this is, I'm thinking, probably before I was born. Like, I wasn't even a thought at this point in time.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Because you said he was only 18. Okay, that makes sense. Because so he was, from what we understand, is he only served 180 days, and he said he was released because of, was it bronchitis? Is that what he said? Why am I? Yeah. But well, he said he served years, but it's been proven to that he was only 180 days, and then pneumonia, wasn't it? Pneumonia. He said he got medically discharged because of pneumonia. Sorry, I don't know why I said bronchitis, but pneumonia. And so that he never fully completed his military time, and that's why he doesn't get, service or like medical assistance, like TRICARE and stuff like that. Because we've always asked him, like, they've talked about, David having these medical issues and that, Medicaid, Medicare, and we're like, well, if he served in the, army, like he said, that's, he would have TRICARE and stuff like that. So he's been called out quite a bit of times. And Becky's answer is always, well, she doesn't know because whatever happens in Vegas stayed in Vegas kind of thing. And it was just like, well, that's not how the military works. Once you're a service member, you're a service member throughout the whole United States. So
Nope.
there are some discrepancies in
No,
that.
that's Becky's mentality, is that she's slow thinker on the whole concept of reality, and anything to her does not really matter to her. She's only more concerned about how she can try to manipulate and control people, especially with my dad, and that's her main obsession, is to seeing how she can basically kind of like segregate him from everyone else that he associates with or is related to.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So talking about Becky, do you know what grade? You may not know this. Do you know when Becky was in school, what grade did Becky make it to? When did she drop out? Do you know?
I didn't really pay much attention to anything she said personally about her education, except for her telling me that her mom put her on some form of disability SSI back then when she was just a little girl, and that's the only thing I really know about her. And then on top of her telling me one time that when she got old enough, she started working a few jobs, but I don't know how long really of her life in those details were. Because, like I said, when it came between me and her, and after the things about her that I started to see about her and her twisting anything that came out of my mouth, I just completely zoned out. I was just not even giving two fucks anything that she had to say. And excuse me for saying that, but
Yeah,
honestly, that's just my feeling.
right. Yeah, I will, Deshaun. Give me just a second. Let's see. I'm just, like I said, this is gonna bounce all over the place because I'm just going down my notes. Who's Elvin? I don't know. Who the heck is Alvin? Alvin? I don't know, truth teller. I don't know what you're talking about. All right. So somebody asked me this, and I don't know if you've even heard this. This could just be a complete off the wall fucking BS. So do you know anything about at one point David robbing a laundromat and getting arrested for robbing a laundromat? Do you know, or is that just some BS that I don't know? Like I said, this could be just complete bullshit. But I've had a couple people tell me that he robbed a laundromat, got $15 in quarters only, and then got brought home by the cops.
I don't recall ever hearing that from him because my dad always communicate quite a lot about his poor choice decision making. So anything that he ever did that was to him, if he ever thought something like that and if he felt it was funny, he would have told me. But he never told me anything like that. And then his wife, on something, she never really mentioned anything to me like she normally does. So That is something that I honestly can't say if I know for certain if that actually happened, but I doubt it, because if that was the case too, as we know, Mitchell, they also have a system set up with the courts that the Mitchell's Daily Republic can
Yep.
get information from the jail.
Yep, and they definitely posted in the paper there. I definitely have seen that plenty of times, so I can definitely understand that. So, people, what is your relationship with Carl and Alex at the moment?
I'd say that it's okay. It's like one moment we could have a problem, another moment we won't, and we communicate half the time. I mean, and I know that both of them are improving, even though they may not like certain things that I might say or do, or vice versa with me or them. But that's just simple sibling like kind of issues that we work out, as well as to the fact that they come to me for advice for things. So I give them positive advice on how they can improve themselves, though one of them may have a hard time in listening to me and in his own choices, but he comes around slowly and makes those efforts.
Right, gotcha. I hope they look up to you because with you breaking the cycle and living by yourself and having a job and living with your girlfriend and doing the right thing. I hope that they do, take the turn and follow in your footsteps. So Sue's is wondering, are you worried about the backlash from doing this live? Are you worried about what Becky is going to do or say, or David or anything like that?
No, I'm not worried, because I'm already aware that she's already been trying to talk bad about me, trying to talk about my personal problems, my personal life, or issues that have occurred involving me and my son. And, half of what she gets, she already knows the truth, and her trying to twist lies to make people feel like, oh, that I'm this horrible human being. Well, I didn't go on TikTok in the first place and start spilling my business out there to everyone like she did. Okay. And here's the other thing. She gets a kick off of this. All right. She may act like she don't like none of this attention that she gets from people. But in reality, her thinking is that, oh, I'm making money off of this, when she's not. Because all she's doing is she's just making a laughing stock out of everybody in her household. And she's just going to keep on doing this, letting you all feed into her, even though she's like having y'all think that she's feeding into you. It's a mental mind game to her. She's playing people. That's all she does.
Right. Got it. Yeah, and then she definitely does not, she definitely does not make money off of here. Like, I believe one of my other awareness friends on here said that on average, she is making about $5 and some odd cents a day at this point. So, Darla had looked up, I believe it was $5 or something, on average $5 and some odd cents a day, basically. So we're trying to figure out what the whole idea. Okay, 532. Thanks, Darla. We're trying to figure out what the whole ordeal is, why she keeps coming back, knowing that she really doesn't have any support. She used to, but with all the awareness because of the racial comments, the talking about minors and all that stuff, she's lost a lot of people. And obviously we brought her money train down. So we're trying to figure out exactly why she keeps coming back. But if she gets a kick out of it, maybe some sort of different rise out of it, that would make sense. People were wondering if you could explain and let anybody know about the injury where she's talking about her torn, I gotta say it right this time, I can't be trolling, ACL, PCL, MCL. Can you tell us how that came into play, or what you know about that?
Okay, so this was, I think, then in 2018, and I had moved back to South Dakota here in Mitchell, and I needed a place to live for my wife and I until we could figure out a new place to live in town. And so I think then at this point, when we ended up moving back in the house, because my wife had to get some kind of like a weight loss lipo type of surgery, and so she didn't want to stay in the place that we found. So we moved out of that place, moving back in after we barely just moved to town. And as we were then staying in their house, well, during the winter, as you know, winter out here can get pretty bad, especially with ice and snow. And Becky, well, she obviously knew how bad it was out there. And she felt, well, on a day that mail came to check the mailbox, and being that the mailbox is across the street on the other side away from their house, that she decides to go outside in the bad weather to go and check her mail, walking in the area where she knew there was that bad ice and snow, walks literally right into it, and then ends up somehow doing a cheerleader split. Just full solid fall down, and boom, just fucking just hits the ground like that, and couldn't even get the hell back up. And so then me and my wife at the time, we're looking outside, watching out for her, and we see it happen. and I forget how it happened. Someone else, I think, saw her, so they called the emergency team, and then they came out there. And then Dad gets the call later, and I can't remember who called him while he was, I believe, at work that day. So he had to then quickly rush home after work to go and help out or to see if she was okay, while following her to the hospital. And then that's when she found out she tore her ACL, because she didn't really, honestly, I don't think that she realized that she used her brain all too well that day. And the male could have fucking waited. Honestly, the male could have just waited.
Do you think that she may have done it intentionally to the point where she was like, oh, maybe. You think she thought that far ahead where she was like, oh, maybe she can win money off of it? Because she did win a settlement, correct, from the landowner. Is that correct?
Yeah, there was a settlement lawsuit against him because he was supposed to keep up on the property. So that was partially his fault, but I don't think that she really actually was planning for this whole thing to happen. But she knew that the weather conditions was bad, and she knew that the landlord wasn't doing his job. So honestly, I think that maybe she should have waited maybe more at a different time. That would have been a little bit more appropriate, safer for her to even just check the mail, if it meant like driving in the car with my dad and then driving right next to the mailbox instead of walking across the street.
Right, like you said, the mail could wait and stuff like that. So from what we understand, that what I've heard from her is that she got a $10,000 settlement from that. People are wondering if you know, is it true that David made her pay $3,000 to take care of her after she fell and tore her ACL?
I don't know a whole lot about it. I heard there was like some kind of a weird money exchange going on between them two, because her needing money from him one moment and then him needing money from her. But majority of the time, though, if she ever had given him money, was because of the fact that she willingly gave him money due to his drinking, and she would always contribute to that, always condone it, always buy him it, until when it got to be too much for her, then she decided to finally not do it no more. And on occasions, once in a while, she still to this day will buy him the alcohol if he is out of it.
Right, and that's what we were kind of wondering. And then so Pillow, on top of, since we're talking about injury, Pillow Princess is wondering, do you know, does she have cellulitis? And on her leg that you know of?
I try not to check her out, honestly.
Right,
Because,
yeah, I get that definitely, but yeah.
I mean, because
Yeah,
it's just not a good sight, honestly. And so I don't really know for certain. I could say as though she's declared to me that she's getting better from having this, and that her sores and all that are healing up. But I ain't looking at her legs or her arms. And
Yeah, we get that. I mean, that's kind of weird. That's, yeah, I get it. That was kind of weird. Like, that came off a little weird, so sorry about that. Because, like, so what we heard from her, and this is what we get kind of a kick out of. So she's been dealing with this, injury for, 10, probably about 10 years now. And she talks about she can't have surgery on her ACL, PCL, MCL, whatever, until her cellulitis is healed. She says that her doctor told her to put Desitin on the sores and stuff like that to help the cellulitis. Well, as you know, Desitin is diaper rash cream. So we were kind of like, what the hell? So we were wondering if that was even a legitimate injury, if she actually did, tear her ACL. Some of us are doubting that, she tore all three of them because, we did research and it says you cannot, if you were to do your ACL, MCL, PCL, that you would not be able to be walking. She would have not, she would have had to have had this addressed immediately, and whatnot. So, do you know exactly what muscle she tore? Was it just the ACL then, or do you not know?
well, the ACL, if I know from medical professionals telling me on where like the hamstring and all that is connected, it's in the kind of nearby the groin, up in the groin area from the back of the thigh, inner part, down into the back towards kind of like up to the hamstring of the calf. It's just like basically right in that thigh area and in the groin.
Right. But do you know that if she tore all of them, did she? Because she tells us that she tore her ACL, her MCL, and her PCL. She tore all three of them in this, cheerleading split. And so we were just wondering. I was wondering, I guess, did you know if she has told you that she tore all three, or are you unaware because of your?
She only told me just that it was one. I did not know if there was others. And then again with Becky, you gotta understand when she speaks about stuff, she's not even accurately specific half the time when she tells stuff, nor can she retain half of what she says. And if she does, she chooses not to care about what she says. And then she will then, as soon as you repeat that back to her and you then ask her these kinds of things about, well, has this happened or has that actually been true and this and that? And she'll just act like, well, that never was said or you don't know nothing. Just twist it all back on you, treat you like the bad guy and act like you're wrong when she's the one out there just telling you all this shit about her personal shit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm telling you is like, so literally, so there's been times, well, actually multiple times where I have called her out or other people have called her out about saying something, and then she'll tell us that we're lying, and then, you know, we post the video proof, and she will still tell us till she's blue in her face, you know, we're the ones who are lying. She can't keep her lies straight, her story straight. So it does sound like, you guys, that's the only thing that she did tear, which is her ACL, which would make a lot of more sense than ACL, PCL, MCL. You guys, the fact that I said that 5 times in a row correct, I'm proud of myself. But anyways, okay. So people are asking about the condition of the trailer. Will you explain what it's like on the inside of the trailer the last time you've seen it?
Well, last times that I've ever been in their home, it wasn't as bad as it is now. They, of course, though, I remember over the years started to have a leakage problem in their bedroom on their ceiling. And that was due to because of the weather had like corroded the top of their roof and making this pliable wood like kind of soak up to the point to where it started to break away. So the rain every time or the snow, if it was any kind of form of water just going on top would just kind of like start leaking through. And they would have buckets all the time, just trying to keep water from not going on their bed or on their floor. And then, I can't remember. There was something wrong with maybe even my brother's bedroom, but I don't remember what. But there was something there too, but I just don't remember. And then, of course, in those years to come, y'all learned about the bed bug issue that they had. So that was something else too. And the majority, I guess, ended up in there because of Carl and the house that he came from before he moved back in and attracted it.
That's not mold. She says every single time, that's not mold. That's plastic. And she says that they spent $6,500 to get that roof fixed. But from what I understand is FEMA came out and helped them repair it. And so can you confirm or deny, is there plastic up in that spot or is that mold like the rest of us are saying?
From what I've seen in even that one video you had with her and discussing about it, I'd say that looks like mold because plastic does not look black and it doesn't look like it's about to puncture a big giant sized fist through it. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. So we just want to make sure. And so how do you know how bad the bed bugs are currently?
From what I heard, my dad once told me back some months ago that the bed bugs have all been inoculated and killed and, out of their house. But they said there was one area in this area of the living room where my brother likes to play his game system. And apparently they had spotted a few more in that area. But I don't know as to if that is still an issue ongoing and if they've ever actually taken care of it. But I know that anytime that I ever had to be in their house, I just avoid from being in certain areas where there was bed bugs because I don't want to have that being lingering on me and then me have it in my home. Because I one time years ago had bed bugs due to a neighbor in Iowa. And I remember my wife and I, when we lived in this apartment, we had a hard time dealing with the bed bugs. So we took some advice from her mom that told us to use like a Clorox bleach spray and inoculate the whole house and sectioning off certain areas to prevent airflow. So when we did that, it worked. Plus vacuuming was one of those tactics to getting rid of them, and it worked out successfully. But I don't want to go through that process again. So I try to keep.
It's a lot. Bed bugs are a big handful. So what she said, give me a second, Pillow Princess. So what we have heard from lives, like I said, everything we know about her basically has come from a live. We have Mountain Dew. I would hope so, Mountain Dew. But so with the bed bug situation, Alexander had at one time a couple months ago said that that there was bed bugs on the chair and stuff like that. And Grandma Faye is Grandma Faye supposed to have a home health care nurse that comes in and check on her? Do you know?
At the time when she had her own apartment and her own house, she had someone that would come and I guess do medical procedures for her and take care of her. But I don't know if that's an ongoing thing still. While now that she has been living with my dad and her daughter, so all I know is that my dad's been stressed out due to this arrangement where she lives with them. And there's a lot of backstory to that because I can understand why. I mean, I've experienced some things that just did not seem all too right with the fact that he's a person that if you haven't figured out when it comes to problems, he can't handle them too well. So his way of handling problems is to get drunk and enraged and angry and just voicefully lash out. And so he has been that way towards even Faye,
Right.
because Faye has a way of making people feel a certain type of rage.
Okay, so they're wondering, is Faye as bad as Becky? Do you think that's where Becky learned her tactics from? Is that how bad Faye actually is, or is she not as bad?
She honestly, I say, compared to Becky, Faye is not really as bad as Becky. Faye is actually more of at times, more often, a laid back person than Becky is. Becky will play off like she's laid back, but she's not because Becky doesn't know when to shut her mouth.
Right. So we were actually told that she was still supposed to have a home health care nurse even while living at the trailer, but that the nurse had stopped coming to said trailer because of the bed bugs. They told the family that they needed to professionally spray before the nurse had come back to the house, and because they have yet to do so, that Faye is not getting any, home health care help and stuff like that. So she's kind of dwindling by herself because nobody's taking care of her at a medical level like she should be. And are you aware that she, sleeps in the living room in the recliner chair because the boys won't give up their bed? And that she just sleeps, basically sitting up and kind of isolated, I guess. It's just, yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah,
Wait,
I heard about that, and honestly, in their situation, it's a three-bedroom home. Or no, wait, yeah, three-bedroom home and one bathroom. That they have to basically share that. And the living room is a bit more big than the rest of their home. So yeah, I can imagine that Faye would had to start sleeping in that recliner. My dad's not happy about that, neither is Becky. But yet they chose to take her on due to because one, Faye did not listen to them about how to proceed with getting her home all taken care of to move into, and so Faye put that off, putting her out on the street herself, and so they wanted to spare her from that, but at the cost of their own sanity.
right. So basically, and so Faye ends up getting caught, making all the meals and stuff like that. And how do do you agree with, or do you know about that? That Faye gets stuck cooking all the meals, and basically being the incoming maid because Becky does not want to get up and do such things, and Carl and Carl and Alexander don't come and. Oh, and they want to know, does Faye come with a check? Does Faye bring money into the household? Is that another reason that you think that they brought Faye into the trailer?
I don't know if it was for financial purposes. Honestly, I think it was more of a genuine that they wanted to help her out in hopes that she would probably get her life back in track for her to be on her own like she was.
Right.
But as for financial reasons, I don't know if that was the case. I think that honestly, it was just the fact that now they're just getting tired of having her there, and they can't, for some reason, just simply figure out a way to get her out of their home because a lot of resources are turning away from helping them out in other situations, like such as the Rocks Community Service. I even had help from them, and I learned from the guy who ran the business that he was planning on not wanting to continue helping anybody else out no more in their program, due to a lot of people more so than just my family that has taken advantage of their program and abused the help that they get. Though, of course, my family, I'd say, is though not as bad with the abuse on the help in that terms, because they did find and used it properly to have the home they have. So that was a success over the years when they finally got into the place that they got into and had for years since then. But their situation with Faye, I think, is just a complicated situation. And as for Faye cooking, she might cook, I think, maybe once in a while, but I don't think she cooks all the time because Becky's told me that she herself has cooked. But then again, you hear things from Becky. How do you know she's really telling the truth?
I can tell
Because
you right now, Becky does not do the cooking because, like, literally every single live, Becky will talk about is grandma cooking, is grandma cooking, is grandma cooking.
yep.
So they believe that she's trying to make it, whatever.
Sound sound pretty reasonable, and it's not. And then I'll tell you, the real person who's actually cooking majority of the time is my dad, and that might seem hard to believe because he drinks, but outside of his drinking, he's a pretty decent guy when he's sober. I
Right,
mean,
I've heard he makes a good homemade pizza. Becky has definitely talked about his homemade pizza being good. She has said that he definitely has done the cooking, so we've definitely heard that. So with your going off of what you said in regards to the program that you had used and the program and that the guy doesn't want to help anybody, are you aware of your family using and abusing the help from like the Salvation Army and stuff like that in town? Because we have heard that they are not allowed to utilize the Salvation Army and different resources in Mitchell because they have over abused them. Are you aware of any of that?
I remember though hearing about that they stopped using Salvation Army, but I did not know why. They at times, if I was ever around them and if they was in the car, going somewhere with them, they would never really specifically give me full detail on that. I just didn't really, though, of course, care to really want to explore more into it because I learned after a time, the more that they kept on bringing me involved in their problems, I ended up being the bad guy later on. So I just kind of like would just act like I was interested, even though I really wasn't. I would just like hear them, but not really give two cares about them and their problems because I knew if I was to go in further, it would just turn on me. So if that's the case, then that's on them because they should have known better. I mean, it sucks that they can't get the help that they need for a lot of things, but that was their own choices in what they did. However, it led up to them not having the help that they should have been able to have.
Right, exactly. So I've got another question from in the chat. Do you know why Carl does not have his driver's license? What is stopping him from getting his license? Is he just, lazy, or does he have, kind of like DUI or like, speeding tickets? Why does Carl not have his driver's license? Do you know that?
I don't know particularly full detail on that. I mean, I know that he was supposed to get one. He was working on it. He knows how to drive. He knows how to follow the rules of the road. He had at least one car accident. And then he even took a speeding ticket for a friend, which was foolish choice on his part. So I don't know if he ever took care of that business or not. I mean, I really don't know a whole lot in that detail. I just know that he wants to. He's told me he wants to get his license. That way he could be more sufficiently able to drive more properly and be able to be recognized by the law that he's following the rules of the road while he door dashes, of course. And he's even contemplating about getting a better, decent job than just door dashing. So I'm hoping that he actually follows through.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, we all do, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, even though they drive us freaking crazy, we want them to fix their situation, and that's our hope is like, that's why people have offered resources. They've been offered lots of resources. I know you're not from TikTok, so you're not really sure on stuff. But like, there's definitely people, there's a gentleman called All for One. He has so many resources. He's called something called a link tree where you can go in there and find basically anything you need help with. He's even been in Becky's live to like go up and offer resources in regards to getting minutes on the phone and stuff like that. There's an amazing person on here called OG Pet Rescue. She even offered to take all the dogs that were alive at the moment. I believe it was 4. Don't quote me. And to take them to the vet in town to get their vaccinations, groomed, and all that stuff. And she just has an excuse for everything, unfortunately. That being said, people are wondering, what do you know, like the condition of the current dogs that are in the home? Because obviously there's just Roxy and Dino that are still there. Have you seen the dogs be matted, and not taken care of, and like what kind of conditions have you seen the animals in?
When they had a full set, I believe was originally 8 dogs total before the majority of them all passed besides the 2 remaining. There's of course now just those two out of I think it was a total of six that passed away.
Right, right.
One of them was the oldest dog of the family that actually started off with me and my sister growing up in Las Vegas. So he's been a family dog that was passed down through the family that Dad and Ashley one time I guess found years ago one summer when I was just a teenager and she was a teenager. So they brought the dog home and hid him from me because they were fearful of the fact that they thought I was going to do something to this dog. And of course, I never did, though. Of course, I was a young kid back then and thought it was funny when I did stuff. But I learned my lesson when the dog got me good. So, um, after that, though, I mean, this dog, he made a family, and their furs were contributed to Roxy and him. His name was Benji, and he was the oldest living dog, a beloved dog. Everyone loved him because he was just a good dog. I
I was
mean,
gonna say
very
that's the one that Alexander really was liked a lot, right? Was Benji, right?
yes, Benji. Benji is also named after from the movie The Love for Benji. And the funny thing is that the dog looks exactly like the one from the movie. That's how he got his name.
Yeah.
And he was just always a character. I mean, the dog was very talented, even at an old age. Um, so, but his fur, I think, was more kept up well, easy for them than it was for the others. Dallas and Zeus, they were more of a thicker coat, so it was a little bit difficult at times, I think, for them. But they did the best they could, and then the matted fur and everything wasn't a good sight to see. And sadly, due to health problems, they eventually did die. Not because of their hair.
Unalive. Don't say DIE. Unalived, but that's okay. I forgive you.
Um,
You're good. I know you don't do TikTok. You're fine. So
yeah.
we have seen their fur matted, unfortunately, and so that's what caused a lot of people to get really upset with the Becky and them guys, just the pure negligence in regards to the matting, and her refusal to go to the vet, even being offered free care and such. And so that brings up the next question in regards to Carl, Duke, and Dakota. Are they real dogs? Are they in the trailer? And what do you know about them?
Well, I barely saw one's head sticking out of the bedroom one night when I went over to try to get a ride home due to the weather was pretty rainy and damp out, and I didn't want to get soaked walking home, so I had no ride home, and I needed to get home, and I just quickly walked over to their house from where my job is, and while I was in there, I was introduced to one of the dogs, but I didn't see the other one that Carl has, but I only saw the one, but I could hear him in the back room or the one room that Carl has, and they were just kind of like making a little noise like they were happy or something and just barking because I was just someone that they couldn't see because I was there. So they're doing what dogs normally do, which I'm familiar with because I've had dogs. I mean, this is how they're going to behave. But I feel for them because I remember when my wife and I back then, when me and her were married, we had this few set of blue healers, and the same thing happened with them. We had to keep them in the room due to because of the family dogs. Besides the two that have been still currently living, when the others were around, they just, I don't know, they didn't get along with other dogs but their own. Some about other breeds that they just don't like. The small dogs pretty much dominate the house. So to keep any issues or conflict from happening, it's just best to, I guess, in their opinion, to put the dogs in the other rooms, which is unfortunately unfair, but those are their dogs that they will put as priority over anyone else's.
So what are they? Can you confirm that they are pit bull dogs? Is that the breed of the Duke and Dakota then?
I've heard that they are, but I have not officially seen them like in front of me. Like they were not like fully full present. They were just only by one's head sticking out. But I can't tell by a head. I have to see the whole body for really me to know the breed.
Absolutely, yeah. So here's, and this is what we know about them is Dakota is Carl's, Duke is John's, his friend that is currently incarcerated. And so they're keeping it because the girlfriend moved and was not able to take the dog with, so they're holding on to this dog for him until November when he's supposedly supposed to get out. And so we were concerned because we have never heard these dogs. And with Carl's, obviously I know how hot South Dakota gets because, I've lived there, whatever, the humidity and all that craziness. And does Carl have any airflow in his bedroom? Because that's what our concern is, that they were kept in this room, and the door shut. during the hot, humid days. And is there any airflow in Carl's room that would have gave them some sort of relief at all?
Um, well, from my own experience being I've been in that room, and when my ex-wife and I had stayed there and slept in that room, we were told that there is airflow, but not good enough airflow. Something about that the air conditioner or whatever is not working well there, and they had to have, like, I guess, fans in there. I remember, because it gets pretty hot in there. It's like basically putting yourself in a giant size oven.
Right.
And it's unbreathable if the door or the bedroom window is not open, but the bedroom window can never be open due to because of an ex-girlfriend of mine. We ended up doing something in that room, and after since then, that window cannot ever be open again. Because, it just, it was just a moment. I'll just say that it was a moment between her and I, and my family decided no more window opening. So,
Okay, fair.
um,
We'll just leave that one to the imagination. So that's what our concern is. Like, so there was a day or a time when Becky got on live and was like, talking about that it was hot, stuff like that. We've asked about Duke and Dakota, and stuff like that, and she admitted that they did not feed those dogs. Well, Becky said that it was not her responsibility or anybody else's responsibility to feed those dogs. So Duke and Dakota went without food for 2 days, and she decided to finally, she said, I felt nice enough as I walked by the room. I went in there to feed them, and that she got cornered in the room and got bit, basically because of food aggression. Do you know anything about her getting bit by the dogs from lack of feeding?
I didn't know about the lack of feeding, but she did tell me one day that she did get bit by one of the dogs. I did not know or pay, or again, like usual, I don't really care half the time to pay attention to her if I'm in close in person proximity with her, because I'm just to this point when it comes to her, it's just a matter of if I don't block her out, then I'm likely to fucking lose my shit and then black out and do something bad.
Fair enough. I mean, and that's what we were told, is because she said that the dogs were not her responsibility. So, well, Carl was out trying to get freaky deaky with the pregnant girlfriend of John's while he was in prison. The dogs didn't get fed because nobody in that household wanted to feed the dogs because it wasn't their responsibility. But Roxy and Dino got fed, whatever. But Becky said she felt nice one day and went in there and fed them, and that they cornered her in the room and bit her, and that's why Duke and Dakota got taken away and put in a 10-day quarantine, because they ended up having to go up to the hospital because Becky was bleeding profusely, as she says, and so they had to go in there and get their baby shots and whatever, and that's what Becky was, online dry bagging and saying that she needed money to get the dogs out of the pound and stuff like that. So we're very concerned about Duke and Dakota, especially, knowing how hot it is during the summer and how humid it can be with no airflow. Sorry, Helen. I mean, whatever.
No, I honestly think that if this is really a situation that I have only barely been discovering about these dogs, and then being I only saw the one head stick out of the room, and I know that room is pretty hot, and the way this weather is now this summer, even in like the past summers, it has been even as close to this type of humidity being as heat waves and everything. That they should try maybe putting their little small dogs in that room, because I've told them many times when I had our family pug Frank in Las Vegas, and Grandma used to have a problem with not listening to me when Ashley and I did our research, my sister, that we did our research about our pug to find out what could be a problem if we kept him outside too long in the heat and humidity in Las Vegas. And it came out with the results that this goes for all different small breeds, majority so because more reports are given about the smaller breeds. That if you keep them in anything that is contained with a lot of humidity and heat involving outside, they can get badly sick. They could lose an eye. They can catch cancer, and they could die from dehydration.
Unalive. Come on, you're good. You're good. I'm just kidding. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we've called. So and I don't mind saying this. We have definitely called animal control out of the concern and the welfare of those dogs being in that room. Because there was literally freaking it was so humid, you know what I'm saying? And I'm an expert at how humid it is in South Dakota. So
Yeah.
we have made calls and stuff like that, but nothing was ever like, I don't know, like Mitchell, like they're weird. Like they didn't seem to give a crap. We've made other calls to other agencies and stuff like that. And yeah, that's another question. Do you know, does Carl let them go out and go to the bathroom outside, or do they go to the bathroom inside the house? And how about Roxy and Dino? Do they go potty inside of the trailer, or do they get let out frequently as they should?
I can say that I do know that Roxy and Dino get let out for sure because they have these leashes that I myself, even when I used to live there, when they had all of the family pack of dogs, a full 8 all together, I would even help out when I lived with them, just putting those dogs on the leash and letting them go outside, and they would go down those steps there and just do their thing and then come back in later when they were ready. As for those big dogs, though, since they're just a new recent thing, in my opinion, for me, I don't really know a whole lot on how they're being taken care of. But I do say that they should just consider that maybe they should test the theory about locking up their 2 little dogs in a room, like
Right.
Carl's, and see how that they feel when it comes to their dogs being in a hot ass room, not with no much food or water. Because even big dogs, with the amount of fur between a pit bull or whatever breed they are, they can suffer from the heat. They can die from that, and it's not good. It can make them sick. They can even vomit. It's just not good. It's not good for them at all. I
Or
mean,
like they
I'm
should go
hoping.
lock themselves in the bedroom and see how they like it with no food and water, you know, and no air, and see how that feels. You know, it's kind of like when
Yeah,
people leave their kid in a car and stuff like that. You go sit in that hot ass car and see how that makes you really feel. You know what I'm saying? You go take the experience of what the dogs are feeling. So
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Um,
and but I'm hoping Carl, if he is, majority of the time that I've heard he's been at home lately, I'm hoping he is taking care of those dogs. Because if he really loves those dogs, I think any dog lover would take care of the dogs.
Right. Well, yeah. Now, Dee Dee makes a good point because with Becky admittingly on, you know, live said that she did not, they weren't her responsibility, so she wasn't going to do anything with them. That means Duke and Dakota were in that bedroom. They had no choice but to go potty in Carl's bedroom because they said they refused to, you know, even feed them. So why would they even take them out to go potty? Because that's even more of a activity and such like that. And I know, you know, they're not, from what I understand, is they're not even supposed to have that big breed dog at the trailer. That's what kind of made me concerned in regards to, are they just letting the dogs do whatever they want to do for the simple fact that those type of breeds are not supposed to be there and they don't want to get caught and get in trouble with the land attendant. But that's just my assumption. You know, that's just something that
Well, I
I.
could clarify more on that scenario because when I had the 2 blue healers, when my ex-wife and I were married and we lived there, those dogs that we had, the 2 blue healers, we had to keep them locked up in that room, that very room that Carl has. And as we were staying there, well, we were told something along the lines by Becky and my dad saying that, well, our dogs could not be seen by anybody that worked for the land tenant outside, or be acknowledged or heard inside the home. And so we had to keep them in the bedroom, not just because of the other dogs not getting along.
Yeah.
And so we were told that they didn't have to let us have our dogs with, that they could have just said, well, you're on your own, you figure it out, is their attitude. And I think mainly it's not because of really so much a size or breed of dog. I think it's just because when they first moved in, they only documented really Benji and Roxy as a part of their lease agreement when they moved in. And then after that, Roxy and Benji, they got down busy and made their babies. And once that happened, then they had a full family pack of dogs. And even their landlord didn't even know about that. And then they're playing and telling everyone, and even me and everybody that they ever knew, or me and myself, that, oh, well, the landlord doesn't know about these dogs, but we're gonna have them here anyway. That's their whole attitude about it. That they cared much more about the family that Benji made with Roxy, more so than any other dog. And it's not that they can't have other dogs; it's just they don't want to like tell the landlord and then add more to their lot rent. They're just
Right.
basically trying to live financially cheap because they know that if the landlord was to find out, there's only 2 options that he's going to do: is either raise their rent or kick him out.
Right. Well, and they, from what we've been told, is that trailer is currently paid off, and that it is in Becky's name because apparently David's ex-wife was going to come and try to take the trailer at one time due to back child support. So that's why it is in Becky's name. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. So my youngest sister, Jalen, her mom, yes, was coming after my dad for back child support because he had, according to her, not paid back those in arrears or however much he had owed. According to him, he has, with all his children's that he's had with my mom and her mom, he's declared that he's paid up all his child support. Now, I know my dad that I can say that he will say things like that, whether he's sober or drunk. Can't really tell if he's actually telling the truth half the time. But I do know that he, mostly I could say though, with my sister and I, he has at some point somewhere, maybe has successfully accomplished paying that. But as for with Jalen and her mom, I don't really know for certain on that whole detail. I just know that yes, she wanted to get him for that. So she did put in a court like order or something, and we found out, and to spare him from losing his home after they did pay that, even though they still pay the lot rent, but they own the home, but to not lose the home, then we advised my dad to get the name transferred over to Becky so that way he wouldn't lose the home. We did not know though, by the way, when we did that, that it made things even worse for him because once that happened, as soon as Becky then got the name in her own home, then she had full power and control in order to make Dad's life hell.
Right, I can see that happening for sure, for sure. Okay, yeah, Karma, they talked about it. You must have missed it, but it was a water leak from weather and stuff like that. And Jonathan says it is not plastic, it is mold, and that would be so. Becky has been sick since she started getting a cough Thanksgiving last year, and she just keeps on talking about this cough. She keeps coughing and coughing, and she's like, people are like, why do you keep coughing, and stuff like that. And she says she doesn't know why she's sick, and we keep on trying to tell her, ma'am, if look up, it's your ceiling, but she does not want to listen to us. That is exactly, whatever. Girl Garden, I can answer that one for you. So their lot rent on average, and Jonathan, you can confirm or deny or whatever. She told us that it is about approximately $320, but it also fluctuates because their water usage. South Dakota does some weird shit where like they have community water in the trailer court. And then based off of your water, your lot rent does fluctuate from month to month. So on average, she did say it's about $320 for the lot rent.
I don't know a whole lot about it, but I'll just say that with Mitchell, things just don't add up. Things are very tricky. Everyone is charged something different for every different personal rent, utility, anything that involves paying money to a landlord or a billing company. I mean, this town to me is a freaking circus. It's a circus.
When I lived up in Huron, I lived in one of the trailer courts up there. And so it was the same thing where the lot rent would fluctuate because it was based off of our water usage. And, it was just crazy. We had an app where you would go on there and see how much water it said you used. And it was just like, well, how do you verify that that was really what we used kind of thing. So it's definitely, it's silly as shit. So people are questioning, do you know anything about why is David Becky's payee? Because at one time, from what I understand, her mom was the payee, and then that was taken away from her misusing the funds and not paying the bills and using it for her shopping. You can either confirm or deny that. And then why did it go over to David? Do you know anything about that?
So when they got together, and they were been married and everything before he ended up on his own SSI years later, and then the other financial assistance he gets. Well, before that all came for him, he was her payee because yes, she was not responsible with her money, and so yes, they would hold back her money. But then it wasn't just all her. The payee though too was being shady. I remember experiencing at times when Becky needed the money actually to paying some bills. The payee would play games and not pay Becky her money, to preventing her from having the funds needed. And so then Dad worked it out to where he could help his wife have her money under his supervision so that way she can have access to her money without it being interfered by a inner third party.
Okay, so it was Faye ever Becky's payee that you know of then? Because I heard she was, and she had lost that ability because she had used it for shopping and stuff that was not bill wise. So
I don't know anything a lot about with Faye having access to her daughter's money. And as for Faye having a shopping addiction and everything, I don't know anything about that. I don't think Faye, though, from what I knew of her and what I know of her now, I don't think she's the type of person that would take money and just spend it all in one setting. I think I think honestly, it's just a matter of a misinterpretation from whoever's saying that or Becky saying that.
Got it. Okay,
Um,
we're good.
so
Yeah, no problem. So somebody wants to know, do you know how much Becky gets in monthly assistance? So we were told at one point that it was she only got $99, but I believe South Dakota just got an increase. So Becky was saying that is what Helen Rose has said, and Helen Rose is very good on knowing her shit. So at one point it was $99, but I know South Dakota just got an increase on their, spending in regards to assistance. So she's up to 149 now. Do you know if that's a correct average number, or do you know if she gets more than that?
yes, that is actually correct. That is what she's getting due to because since my dad is on the SSI, because they're married, they go based on majority of his income that they give to him once a month on top of his other financial aid that he gets of the SSDI or whatever for disability because of his spinal surgery that he had of a slip disc that he ended up with last year, I think it was. That was not a good situation for him because it led to that to then fractured ribs. And then I think then there was like a blood clot situation where he had to be on blood thinners for too. So he went through.
Becky has said he is on blood thinners, so we know that is still accurate, and he's on muscle relaxers currently.
Yeah. So it's been tough on him. On top of though, yeah, he's thrilled and happy now. For years he complained about when a few people I've been with, like with my ex-wife who was trying to get SSI, along with like my current relationship who is also on SSI. He was always angry, mad at people like them who had the help from the government that was getting the assistance, just like his wife, where he fought for years trying to argue with the government about, oh, well, why can't he, due to certain issues he was dealing with, like his mental issues and other physical things that he was worried about. And of course, though, it didn't work out for him because they viewed on, I learned when one of my exes had went to court, the courts in South Dakota, they view a few factors, not just health, because health,
Right.
yes, is a priority to get the benefit granted to you to having that SSI, but they look into your long outstanding history involving like your criminal record. That is the biggest part of all, along with your financial and income based on how many jobs you worked or haven't worked. And if you have the criminal being outweighing the other two, that prevents you most certainly for years on getting the SSI because the way they figure, I think, is if you can go out and criminally do something to the public or to your domestic life, then they figure you have the means to afford to taking care of yourself. So they are not going to help out someone who just gets into trouble, really. And it took for my dad's health to really collapse on him before they were like, okay, you know what? We'll actually be lenient on you. We'll let you have it this time around because they knew that they couldn't deny him it this time after he just one day at work couldn't lift no boxes after his spine just gave out on him.
Right. So talking about David and his injuries, how did David break his ribs? I think like was it like last year, right around Valentine's Day, right? Is that I believe? How did David break his ribs?
It's not like he tried to. I think it was more of the fact of when he went through the surgery for his spine, something was going on where there was swelling. There was a possible blood clot or something happening. And with the surgery he already just went through and while he was recovering, he was on certain medications that was not helping him with his diet and top of him gaining some weight. So the weight put on pressure, which caused his ribs to eventually fracture and break.
Do you think it's because of like a calcium issue? Maybe I wonder if he has like deficiencies in regards to nutrients and stuff. I don't know the correct medical term, but I wonder.
Well, he's always told me that he's lactose, but he still eats cheese like it's out of style. He will still drink milk also, but not as often. His majority choice of beverage though is soda. So, and then on top of that, of course, as you know, his alcohol. The consumption of that though is not as much though compared to his soda intake. So I think that it's more of the unhealthy choices he's making with his diet.
Yeah. So my people in my comments, like I said, the girls that help go are covering Becky with me at the moment. So Becky had said that it was osteoporosis and that it was from sneezing and coughing is how he broke his ribs. So that
Well,
was,
yeah, that could have been the icing on the cake for him when he was going through a sneeze and whatever that other one was with him just having this amount of pressure. When your body just starts to do those normal functions, it probably did put the weight on him, and like putting that force down on him, which caused maybe those ribs to just decide to say, all right, you know what, we're breaking apart.
Right, yeah. This is the day we leave each other. Goodbye. So let's see. When can you talk about when did David start having a drinking problem? Do you know when he first started becoming an alcoholic, and where he lost control of his ability to stop drinking?
He started drinking in his late teen years, of what he's told me, and my grandma, his mom, has confirmed that too. It was probably when he was like 17 or 18, maybe. He would, and his friends in Las Vegas, they would just get together and maybe smoke some weed or do some other stuff, and drink. And his mom did not really quite find that too appealing. She was not thrilled about that. Of course, though, she over time, I guess, started to kind of accept it in his younger years, until when he got older. And once he then met my mom and then started having me and my sister, that's when she expected of her son to start being more responsible. But he didn't really stop. He just still kind of like mediocrely would do it, up until when it was just more of a lingering on thing that he just never wanted to quit. He would always find excuses, like he still does, find reasons why he should still keep on drinking. His most favorite memorable excuse that I don't forget, that was shocking to me, which made no sense, and even to this day it makes no sense, but he used our nationality, one of our nationalities, as the excuse for his drinking one night. And I think I was either just about to drink, or I was just in the process of drinking that night with him. And I went down the hall and I was trying to go to use the restroom. He stopped me halfway and he's like, "Hey, Jonathan," he's like, "you want to know why I drink all the time and why I love to pick fights?" And I'm like, "No, why?" And he's like, "I don't know why." He's like, "But I think it's the Irish in me." He's like, "Every time I drink, I just have this urge where I just want to fight, and because I'm Irish." And I'm looking at him like, "Are you an idiot?" I'm just thinking to myself, "Are you a fucking idiot?" Like,
I mean, this is the man that does sit in the bedroom and talk to the wall when he gets mad at Becky. So, I mean, that really does make sense. We have definitely seen that. Yeah. But so now, talking about being drinking and being an idiot, can you explain? People, obviously, as you know, I have showed the video on, of you and David, where you had the marker on your face, and David slapped you and stuff like that. Can you explain what had happened in that video and what led up to him slapping you like that?
yeah, so I was working at Marlin's here in town at the time, and I was with one of my exes, at the time as well. It's funny how a lot of bad stuff happened between me and exes that I was with. She was at work and, working at Marlin's too that night, and I come home and he's already drinking and everything, and he, was, I guess, upset because I chose to still stay with this woman who wanted to leave, and who was causing problems in their house and saying some crazy stuff when she wasn't on her meds. And I would just like try to talk her into like staying until we could get a place and move out. And they were not happy with me about that. So he wanted to sit down and talk to me about her, along with a few other things. I can't remember all the details involving that, and it led up to him having an issue with me. And I don't remember even a whole lot about that either, because it's been a long time since I even had that issue with him, and he wanted to get smart with me and thinking that he was cute and funny. So he's like, "What would you do if I just, like, if this was like a college scenarios type situation, if I just drew on your face and with this Sharpie here?" He's like, "What would you do?" And I'm all like, "Nothing." I was like, "Go ahead, I'll let you just do it." I was like, see how far you're gonna go with this." And he's like, "All right." So he starts doing it, starts drawing on my face while it's being recorded, whoever is in the background recording it at the time. And everybody's just laughing about it. I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, do you feel bad about yourself?" I asked him. And he's like, "Yeah, I do." He's like, "Well, you got a mouth on you," because I was like, apparently at this point, I was starting to get a little bit buzzed or something after having a bit of alcohol. And I'm just sitting there trying to keep my cool and not letting him get to me as best as I could. And he's like, "Maybe I should wash your mouth out with soap and see how you like that." And so he takes the liquid soap. He's like, "Here." He's like, "Let me put this down your mouth and tell me if you can handle that." So I just then let him do that. and I swallowed it just to prove a point, just to be wrong, like to let him be wrong about it. And then, of
Right.
course, later I regretted it because I ended up like
Throwing
kind of
up.
like spitting out bubbles, but that was
Right.
nothing. Felt a little sick after, but it was nothing I couldn't handle. Didn't kill me or nothing. I mean, it's just liquid dish soap. So, um, but yeah, he thought he had something on me, I guess, wherever that moment was. And then when it was getting a bit confrontational and him trying to egg me on into another fight with him, literally again after the first time that him and I actually fought. But I just knew that there was no point in letting this escalate any further. So I told his wife, I said, look, I was like, Becky, I was like, you need to get him away from me. I was like, because this is going to get real bad and ugly. I was like, I don't want to be fighting my dad here. I was like, you call the police right now. And he's just sitting there. He's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you're out of control. I'm like, this is enough. I was like, I let this go on too far long. I was like, you think that you're going to be pulling the same shit like you did to me many times over and over. I was like, this ain't going to be you testing my strength out just because you want to see how strong I am or if I can kick your ass again like you thought was the case the last time. I was like, so this is going to be ending with you being in handcuffs and you going to jail.
Right.
And he walks up, goes away in the back bedroom, and Becky calls the police, and the police come, and he comes back out, and he's trying to come at me, and she's trying to keep him back, and the police finally arrive, and then they handcuffed him, and he's all mad as hell because I would not give in to his bullshit.
Right. Well, yeah, because when we watched the video, we could hear Becky antagonizing it because they were talking about the dick that was on your face, and they were talking about how you were going to have to wake up the next morning because you were, saying that you didn't care about, basically that you go ahead and, do whatever you want to do to me, prove yourself, trying to be a big man. And then they were talking about that in the next morning you would wake up, have to go to work that following evening, and Becky made a comment about the dick on your face and that you have a dick on your face because you like to suck dick, and she antagonized it but then tried to be in the background and ask, make it seem like she was trying to stop and be the
That's
good
Becky, yeah.
person. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Becky, if I remember, even though it's like one of those memories I try to block out, I try to shut that out because I don't want to remember bad stuff like that.
Right. Absolutely.
But yeah, she has a habit of egging on and encouraging things to happen. As soon as it then gets out of control, then that's when she realizes, oh, I better stop it before this happens. And it shouldn't have been where I had to be like, Becky, call the police for her to interfere and finally take initiative into actually realizing how bad that this is going, because she deals with him every year. All through ever since they first started their marriage, she has dealt with the same thing of him being drunk, getting out of control, to where she's always initiatively had called the police on him and have him go to jail over whatever reason that may be. And half the time though, he may not be always the one at fault for a lot of his actions, even though he shouldn't be acting the way he does when he's drunk. But she also has a habit of making it to where things do go bad by saying certain things to him that makes him mad. And not to say that it's all on her and his actions that he can have control over. He just chooses not to. But she knows how to push his buttons, and that's her way of seeing if she can make him break to where she can have control. And he will disagree if he ever was to hear this one day. I mean, because anything anybody says to him, he'll deny it and say it's not true, just like her, because they're in denial. They're in denial and they don't want to face the fact that they're both each other's problem.
Right. Yep. And they'll never take accountability and stuff like that. So some people are wondering. So I don't know if you're even aware of this, but David has court on Thursday. Do you have any idea? Do you think he'll get out based off of what you know, or do you think he's going to end up going to prison this time?
It's, to me, honestly, being how many times he's had to deal with a few same judges that I remember I've had to dealt with myself for my own issues. I know Donna Bucher is not a well-liked person by my family. She's a person that will speak her mind and tell it how it is, no matter how ruthlessly it comes out of her mouth. But this woman has put my dad more than she's probably ever had to put with me. I only had to see her maybe once, and then I've had maybe the other judge that he also has had to face many times, and these judges have put it with him so much that they gave him so many chances and told him he had to do this. And my dad knew that he had to follow his PBTs. He had to stay on good behavior, not get in trouble with the law. He had to show up and be on time and not drink. And also on top of following the no contact order many times. And he has never once been, of course, caught for breaking that no contact order multiple times. until recently because he was late. He did not want to be responsible for some reason. I don't know if it was intentional or unintentional. I know he wasn't drinking on the day. It was like 2 weeks ago, I think, when it happened, when he got caught. And and so he had me call the jail to let them know that he was going to show up but be late. I just didn't at the time realize how late he was, because he then gets arrested because he was more than the average normal time allowed to being late. So they wouldn't have just simply called the police for no apparent reason. The jail will call the police if you are like 30 minutes to an hour, if not days or more late, because they're going to assume that you're trying to avoid from doing what you're supposed to do that's court ordered. And so when they arrived, they found out that he was at their house and that he had broken then, and according to their opinion about observation investigation, that he had broken the non-contact order at the same time. Though if he had then just simply would have, whether or not if he was sleeping or woke up late or not, if he would have just went right away and got it done, I mean, he would have had no issues, but that was on him. He chose to not follow through with what he was supposed to do and be a responsible adult. And so in this case scenario, because he broke the non-contact order, I think it'll be a miracle if he could get out, but I doubt it, because his record is so bigger than mine, that I'm just thinking to myself, this would be literally a shocker, honestly, a shocker if he can get out of this, honestly, because I'm looking at the fact that if he has to face the Judge Bucher or the other judge, Giles, whatever they call him, either one of them, okay, is going to be like, well, you know what, Mr. Fortney, David Fortney, we gave you these many opportunities. You did this, you did that. Well, unfortunately, this time we cannot let you out. Like, Judge Bucher, apparently I've recently learned, according to my dad's wife telling me back days ago, that she said that they heard that he was set back another court date, that he's a risk to being let out, that he's a menace to society, something along the lines like that, and that she's keeping him in there in jail a lot longer because of his behavior just never stopping. It's just the constant same pattern: breaking the no contact or not showing up when he's supposed to, doing his PBTs, not drinking when he's not supposed to be drinking. And so I think he's likely to go to prison. And I mean, he's had the same attorney, Alvine Law Firm, has helped him out so much with their team. They have a few good attorneys, but these attorneys are coming to the point to where that they're getting tired of having to deal with him. And they're thinking that, oh, well, these attorneys will do good if she writes a letter to the attorney now on top of writing a letter to the judge. Well, you can write all the letters you want, Becky. The way I look at this point, and when her saying this to me, and it's like she doesn't realize this. She thinks that, oh, everything's going to work out like usual. When I've told her, well, you can go ahead and you can sit and wait and see what happens. But while she's also sitting back and crying about, well, they're going to lose their home, that they won't have a way to get Alexander to school and all this and that, I said, you are so busy thinking that you have to improve your life and make these adjustments, I told her, just to wait on him for you to do something and be a responsible parent and an adult. I was like, take initiative and do something for yourself now before it gets too late. She don't want it. She'd rather sit back and wait for him to get out of jail and for him to improve, for her to even make a change. And she says, oh, well, I've changed. Really? If you've changed and you have been already preparing ahead and preparing for the worst to come. I was like, because all you're doing is you're just letting the ship sink like it's Titanic in 1912 all over again, hitting the iceberg, and then everyone is sinking right with you.
Right. Yep. And that's what. So I guess yesterday, I believe, they have received papers from the district attorney at the house. And I guess it was a part of the plea agreement. And Becky had said herself that they are trying, quote, she says that they're trying to F over David by sending him to prison. So they ripped up papers and threw them away. Well, obviously, we know that, being the smart people we are, that ripping up papers is not going to stop the court system. The state's attorney, sorry about that, yeah. And said that, Becky's convinced that they're trying to screw him over. And that she swears up and down that he's coming home on Thursday and that he's going to have a piece of paper that says that he can come back to the house and stuff like that. But yeah, your consensus is basically the same that all of ours is, that it's not going to happen, that they have basically, in my opinion, think that they're untouchable, that they can talk their way out of anything using their, their health issues and stuff like that, and just every excuse that they possibly can think of, the poor me, that, Alexander can't get to school if David's not home, and that, that it's gonna save him. And so Do you feel like that's what they're doing? Is they're using David or Alexander's school and all that stuff as a way to like kind of talk their way out and stuff like that, and
Let me
using
just
that to
put
their
it to you
advantage?
this way. Many times over the years, I've heard them say, even when before I had relationships, before I was even married, and before I even went through my first divorce. I mean, even before this current relationship I'm in. I mean, I've heard them say more than once to me that every time that they've had a problem with whoever, it didn't matter if it was me or anybody else or my relationships, they would say, "Well, this is our house. We could do whatever we want. And nobody could do nothing about it." That's their attitude. Their philosophy is that they think that because they're American citizens and because we have, as Americans, all of us having the freedom of whatever according to our constitution to do this and do that, well, they don't understand that there's still a price to pay in that freedom, as well as if they're going to be like Becky, involving the social media world and involving other people outside their home and discussing their bullshit problems inside their house. Well, they technically can't do whatever they want if they're going to just share their bullshit with everybody around the world outside their house. Because if you're going to bring in people you don't know and you don't know them that well and how they are and how they're going to think about you or whatever the case may be, they're, you just can't. You can't do what you want, because then that means then basically the outside world has the higher say as to what you do. In a sense
Right.
that it's not like so much as you're telling them, hey, well, you can't do this. It's just more of the fact that they don't have the common sense to understand having decency and respect for themselves and also for others. It's to
Right.
them, it's a show that they want to put on just to impress people that think that are going to care, and nobody really is actually caring in the sense the way they think.
Right. Yeah, I agree. So, did Alexander get pulled from the Mitchell district because of bullying, or did he get pulled because they wanted him further out in regards to using that as their advantage in regards to talking their way out of stuff?
Um,
And
no,
don't
that
say where he no
situation.
don't make sure you don't say where he goes to school now because I don't want that leaked on this TikTok. So
No, no,
make
no.
sure.
I'm not going to mention the
Okay,
school because
okay. I
I
just want to make
I don't
sure.
even know I don't even know the school name anyway. I just know the town,
Well,
but
that is the name of the school, just so you know. So
yeah,
yeah.
no, I didn't really pay attention a lot when it came to even those type of problems, because even back then there was just certain things that I was just not in agreement with, things I would hear about involving with my brother, and so I would just, even with those situations, I would just try to tune it out as much as I could.
Right.
But uh no, he got taken out. They chose to take him out of the public school system here in Mitchell because my brother was, according to them, being bullied. I don't know how true much of what was what, involving that whole scenario, but it got so bad that I knew that with Alexander being upset, that he wanted to be out of the system. He didn't want to go to school here. So they
Gotcha.
found one that was out of town just so that way he can have peace of mind. And it has been a benefit to him. He has successfully developed better in his education by being
Mhm.
out of the Mitchell school district system. So him being out of
Good.
town, going to school elsewhere, has been making a better progress for him.
Good. 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 So yeah, because I was like, here's the thing: is there's programs in South Dakota that it's the something Vento program, and it's a van that will make sure that Alexander will get to school if it's out of district due to bullying and stuff like that. And so I tried to tell her about that. And she says that they cannot get that van to bring them to school. And I explained to her that yes, you very much so can. You have to just call. There is like a 3 week waiting period where it takes time to arrange like the bus and or the van or whatever coming to your stuff. But they do have a federal program where they wouldn't have to worry about it because now we're in the situation as obviously I know where he goes to school because you told me whatever. But with it being a 25-minute plus drive there to school and back home, that would save them a lot of help. But what are they going to do when David doesn't get home on Thursday? Because South Dakota starts school mid-August. They start early, so they're going to get started here. So how are they going to get Alexander to school? Because that's just going to open another can of worms because, then he's going to have, absences and truancy issues, and that's going to cause another door open. Do you think that Carl will end up having to bring him every day? Or because Mama Faye can't drive that much, right? And stuff like that.
Due to health reasons, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Um, As for Carl helping out in that sense, I mean, he probably would, but I've been told by Becky that when I had that discussion with her, before she wanted to start her crap with me when she found about this interview coming up today,
Right.
that she made the excuse that, well, he doesn't have his license, so he's not gonna. And her thinking, while still basically sitting in duck and cover, thinking that dad's gonna get out to be granted freedom to go and help them out and get my brother to school. Well, she's not realizing that there's a possibility that this time around he's not gonna. So, which means, honestly, he ain't gonna go to school. He's just gonna basically end up becoming a dropout.
Right, and that's sad because again, there he becomes a product of his environment, and so that's not fair to him. And that's why, like, if you can, I will give you the information in regards to that program, that federal program. And so that way, all it is a phone call, and they send you a link for a Word doc sheet to fill out. It takes about 2 or 3 weeks for you to like get him on a bus route where the van will come and get it. And so maybe that's something you can do, because I would hate to see him be a product of his, environment. He needs to finish high school. He needs to, focus on breaking the cycle and continuing to better himself. So obviously I know it's okay with you that I would love to send that, information to you. So maybe you can talk some common sense into it. And I believe even you can do the, form, and maybe you can just kind of overstep it if he were to go to jail or not get out, because we don't want him missing his first day. We want him to have a normal childhood, normal teen year, but you can't do that when you don't go to school. That way he will become another statistic of the society, the system, if he does not go to school. You know what I'm saying? So like, yeah. I would love to. I'll get you that information, and I'll help you through that. Need be, whatever the situation may be. We'll make sure that Alex gets to school because he needs to. He needs his education. So I got a couple more questions. I told you it was only an hour, and this is taking way more, but so we'll kind of finish it up. So can you? So we're gonna kind of end on a kind of funny one, and then we'll just ask for people if they have a couple questions. I'll ask them just a second, Angie. Yeah. So can you explain? And we've talked about this before. So Becky has talked about that David has wanted to bring other people into their relationship, and have other women get involved and stuff. Can you explain, like you told me, what they were doing in regards to inviting other folks into their relationship for possible threesomes?
So yeah, it's not so much that my dad wanted to just start this whole thing. He got into it because of his wife, and because she was thinking and feeling that their marriage wasn't being satisfied enough, or that he wasn't satisfied enough, that she starts giving him these little subtle hints about other women. And because he had a habit of always wanting to display inappropriate nude pictures of female celebrities on one of his older Facebook profiles, that she started thinking that that she could maybe do something to change their situation and relationship by spicing up the marriage. And it was turning out drastically to where that they would start contacting random women, and as they're talking to all these random women, the women would be like, all right, after they're hearing them, asking them, hey, you want to come down here and have sex and have a threesome, da 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 da. And the women were like, well, if you give me a gift card, if you give me this, or buy me a gift, or buy me that, or send me this money here, or do a money order there, I'll go and meet you there, or I'll go and do this and meet you here or there. Like basically making false promises that also ended up never coming true, that they were just foolishly just giving and giving and giving, wasting their money, just constantly just give, and not getting nothing in return. And it was just ridiculous that they were just interacting with women, that whether or not, if they were serious or not, whether if they were scamming them or not, is the fact is I look at it from maybe on their side of things, that if my family had any common sense, that women are not going to just simply be like, oh, okay, yeah, all right, I'm going to go ahead and not know you and just take whatever you give me that I'm asking for, and then show up and meet you and let this happen. Because they're thinking, probably, I look at another perspective, that I don't know you, you're probably a criminal, you're probably going to murder me or something else, and I'm not going to take that chance or that risk, so I'm just going to keep on just taking from you, and we're going to call it good right there.
Right, so they were sending gift cards and stuff to these women in hopes, like, or in hopes that they're not really in hopes, but thinking that they were going to come up and offer, sexual favors and be. So does that mean? And now you may not know the answer. You can say yes or no or whatever. That Becky is into females. Do you feel like she is bisexual then?
I heard a rumor about that. I don't know how true it is. But if she is into women, I think my dad would have already been aware. And if not, then I don't know what to say to that. Honestly, I mean, if that's the route she's going now, then good luck in making their marriage work. Because my dad, as much as he might like the idea of having a threesome, he ain't gonna be happy about having to share his wife with another female.
Right. Yep. And that's why, the reason I asked that is because she, sits there and she says that, she's homophobic and that being a lesbian is unnatural and stuff like that. So the fact that they were inviting other women to either relationship, kind of is contradicting and stuff like that. So it's just, that's why I'm like, this is kind of humor. The humorous part to us is because she sits there and talks about it. Hold on, Pillow Princess, I see you. So Pillow Princess is one of my friends that covers Becky, one of my mods. And so she is a lesbian and she has made fun of Pillow Princess. So I'm going to let her up really quick. As long as you don't yell, Pillow.
I'm going to use my library voice. Okay, hey, Jonathan, I will just let you know, you just made my night because that piece of big back Beck
use your good words.
That I am. That I was unnatural and I needed to seek a man because no man would ever want me, and that's why I am a lesbian. I am so glad you confirmed this information because the next time I get in a box, oh, she's going to have it. Her little bi-in tendencies. Yeah, Becky, you just wait. Thank you, Jonathan. And I just want to let you know that I appreciate that the fact that you have stepped up here and talked about everything and that you have been open book with us and have been patient with us. But I just wanted to let you know I really appreciate that last tidbit that you just gave me because now I'm honored. I'm going to be honored more than I have been before. And thank you for letting me up, Jaima. And again, thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
For not yelling, Pillow Princess, because she'd be yelling, and I won't mock her this time, but whatever.
No, it's all right.
She gets up and so she gets heated. She's kind of one of those that gets upset when Becky brings my child up and stuff like that. And Pillow Princess, she doesn't deal with the racism, the homophobic stuff like that. And she gets up, and I'll send you a video of Pillow getting in a box, and she.
I can relate. I can relate to her feelings on that because there's things that myself. That if something was said that I'm not okay with, I would be like her too. I at times can get emotional and raise my voice, but I've learned over the years how to try to control it better. And so it's just a matter of just taking a breather. Some people don't really grasp that, and I don't expect even for her to. But I get where she's coming from. It's an emotional thing. Things that are very sensitive to her. So her responding by a very loud tone is the way that she is able to be.
She's just really comical because there's no quiet with Pillow unless you tell her to use her library voice. And I won't mock it right now just because it's just more hilarious just because she's a part of my group and stuff like that. I'm just making fun of her. And so yeah, we're gonna go ahead, and I don't really have too many more questions, so I'm gonna open the boxes really quick and let people come up as long as I know who they are. That way we don't got no troll coming up here acting crazy. I know Dark wanted to come up here. Dark, you still wanted a box, correct? Yep, and it's going to be one at a time, and that way nobody's going to be over-talking each other. And I'm only letting people up that I absolutely know. Please let Dark up into a box. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you, Jonathan, for the truth. I've been, how can I say this, doing reverse psychology to try to get facts from her for 2 years now. And I'm just, thank you. And thank you for standing up to the plate and being better than your stepmom and your father. And I'm very proud of you. Thank you for everything. That's it for me.
All right, you're welcome.
Very good, Dark. So some people are asking me, I'll ask you this really quick. Are you aware of Becky cheating on David on his 47th birthday up at the truck stop with a man up at the truck stop. Are you aware
Oh,
about that?
yes, I am. I actually was the one who busted her. I found out through one of my ex girlfriends back in 2015. I was living with her, and I had just barely moved out of my family's house for the first time. And so, as I'm living with her, she had a mutual friend with Becky, and this lady named Gina Callahan and her were so close that they talk all the time. And I guess they came up with this idea that Gina Callahan wanted to have a threesome with Becky and this truck driver, because Gina was into the truck driver more than Becky was, because Becky had no idea until Gina told her about him. And I'm hearing about this one day when Gina came over to visit them, me and my ex at the time, and she's telling us all about this, that they had an arranged plan to go and meet this truck driver at the truck stop. And so when this is all happening and everything, I'm hearing about this. I'm like, oh, really? I'm like, okay. I was like, does my dad know about this? And Gina was like, well, no, he can't know. I'm more like, okay, well, do you feel that that's right to be encouraging his wife to have a threesome with you and to cheat on him? And she had nothing to say. And she's like, well, if you tell your dad, she's like, I don't want to be involved. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, my dad's going to want to know the guy's contact information in case something does happen. I was like, because I want to give it to him and then let him talk to the guy after, because he's going to be made aware no matter what you feel or think, I told her. And so she's like, okay. She's like, here's his number and this and that. I'm like, all right. And then so I waited for a day when I knew that it was the right time, I thought, but evidently it was the worst day, I guess, for my dad. Apparently my dad, though, however, in a sense, did find out before I had told him, but my telling to him later was full confirmation for him. And so on Father's Day was the day I had him and his wife and my brother come over. And I was like, hey, Dad. He's like, what? I was like, I got to tell you something. So then I told him, and he's like, oh, really? And so I come to find out, though, it was actually true that instead of Gina, though, had gone with Becky and then decided not to show up and do the threesome, well, then Becky went anyway and went to meet the guy and let him screw her in the truck of his semi in the back.
Was it a Dodge? Do you know? Did she get raw dogged in the Dodge? Though that's what we really need to know.
I don't know, but I can imagine her size. Probably that's the only way.
I mean, because like, so we made a song about. There's a song about it. That's why I said it, and that's why people are in the comments are like, please tell me it's a Dodge, because there's a guy on here. His name's Keith, and he made a. I'll send you the song. It's absolutely hilarious. So that's just like inside of our little Becky humor. And so I will send you that the freaking like you'll understand.
Yeah, but no,
yeah, so,
I ended up giving him the guy's phone number, and they talked on the phone, and it got pretty heated. And so Dad said one last thing to the guy. He's like, how did you like tasting me when you were all on her? And the guy had nothing to say.
I'm
and
sure, like,
and I'm just like, oh my God, I just realized, and I thought about it, and I'm like, it's Father's Day, and I just told my dad this, like, basically been letting him know that his wife had cheated on him.
way to go, Jonathan. Nice present you gave him.
Yeah, it was not what I planned entirely.
I get it, yeah.
But I mean, I felt as a son that he had the right to know that he had a dishonest wife.
Right, fair enough. Does anybody else want a box? If you want a box, please type box in the chat. I'm only letting people up that I absolutely know, because I don't want some troll up here, because I don't like trolls. You guys are doing so well with being so well behaved. We're not gonna end it now, so we're gonna give it a couple. Is anybody else? She said, well, I know. GD says she doesn't give Becky, or Becky doesn't put out it right now because she's not attracted to David, because he's an alcoholic. Oh, no, you're fine, Dark. It was fine. And so we talked about that. And then David popped off and was like, well, yeah, when I'm not drunk, you don't put out either because you talk about your leg hurting. And then there's me up in the box thinking I was going up there to troll. And listening to this, because that was the time I was trying to offer resources, and I told her that she could just be a smart little girl and lift her leg up and put it on a pillow, and just fucking whatever. No, Becky can walk. How well can Becky walk? That is a good question. No, you're fine, Dark. Nobody even, girls, stop it.
I'd say that when she walks, it's very slow due to, not because of her weight, but because of the injury. And her walk, not to make fun, even though it's going to sound funny and everyone can laugh freely if you all want, but to me, she looks like she waddles like a penguin.
Yeah, that's what he said, the same thing. So she keeps on saying that she could not. And I actually found I found a video of her walking freely. And it's, just kind of a limp, definitely, too much weight on the legs kind of walk per se, when people are overweight, the different type of walk that they have just because, stuff like that.
I don't think it's her legs that has the weight issue. And again, I'm going to re-emphasize on this. I'm not checking her out, but you can't help looking at something that's right in front of your face half the time. It's her butt. It's too big. It's like the song that says "Big Booty Judy."
Right. I mean, fair. Okay, fair. Mama's got back. I got it. Okay, baby got back. All right. Anywho, does anybody else want a box? So they're asking, is Becky really racist?
I personally have never experienced her say anything racist in front of me. But I think though from the one video I saw with my dad in the background and him saying some racial slurs and her, I think it's just more of like influence somehow based on her slow thinking ability that I think she just repeats what she hears, not understanding or knowing or quite grasping the whole concept of what's being said. And I don't think she's really trying to come off racist, but it is pretty messed up to even still repeat what someone else says.
Right. Do you agree that Carl is openly racist? Because, I know you said your dad was, and, with his past and stuff like that. But what about Carl? Is he openly racist? Do you agree that he's racist?
I could say that Carl is, I guess, has like a moment of a racial tendency to say something racist, but he's not racist because he has at one point in time, I remember he was trying to get with a native girl. So, yeah, I don't think he's racist if he was even going for someone that wasn't even of the same ethnicity.
So just so you know, there's been times where he has said that if it ain't white, it ain't right. He says that he's glad that he is not the color of the underside of the bed. He definitely has said, he came in one day and he was working on his car and his hands were greasy and, oily and, black from, dirt and stuff like that. And he walked in and he told, Becky, he was like, while she was on live, she was like, look at my hands. They're, greasy and dirty. I'm turning into and then straight up said the N slur with the hard ER. So, just so you know, I mean, I know you've drawn yourself back from it so that, I understand you're not fully all up in the family, stuff like that. So I understand 100%, but I just want to let you know that he has definitely said some.
He probably, like I said, I could tell you that he doesn't come off as a racist, but he will say things that are racist. Like Carl's the kind of guy that even when he was a kid, he always still kind of does have the moments of doing things or saying things of not thinking before saying or doing. Like he just does. Like it's just a thing with him without even a thought process.
Right, mimicking his dad and stuff like that. And, but that definitely is still racism. And, because if you're not gonna stop it and you're condoning it, that's 100% racism and stuff like that. So
yeah,
very good. So let's see, anybody else want a box? I'm just kind of reading questions, but whatever. I know I did tell you guys freaking it. We know it's racism. It's 100% wrong, and that's why we call him out and every single time. That's why we do what we do, because we don't condone that. My group does not condone racism or homophobia or none of that crapola. And then people are asking about, no, we don't. He's just talked about that. He said he doesn't think that Carl or David's going to get out on Thursday. And then so people are wondering what you think about Alexander and his, talking to the way he does to his mom, calling her a see you next Tuesday and running the house. And they want to know how aware you are that he talks to her like that, like he runs the house and stuff like that. How aware are you of that?
That's been going on since he was like, I think 5 when that all began, and dad and his mom kind of like let that go on for so long that they didn't think of it much of a problem until he got older. And with that and his drinking and having a similar type of vocabulary is how I'll politely put it. That Alexander just is in the mentality of, I think, believing that this is okay. But then not to give him a full excuse, but he does have some of an excuse where his mom has at times pushed him to a point to where he acts and lashes out that way, because there was a moment I remember where years ago his mom was not nice to him. She was putting him down, making him feel horrible. And so his response to things, he thinks that this is normal and okay, even though now he's learning and understanding and realizing that some of his actions and choices are not quite acceptable. And he himself is saying he is trying to improve on a lot of stuff with himself. And you know, he's come a long way. He's 16, and I think though he shouldn't be the way he is, because I've even told my family, like with my sister and her reasons for why she doesn't want nothing to do with our dad. I mean, I even told them, I said, we need to just start now breaking this disrespectful family cycle of hatred, name calling, putting people down, making false promises, and, you know, just start being there for each other as a family instead of showing the world that we're other than that. I mean, because I told her, along with a few others, like even with my dad's wife, I said, we need to come together, because one day we never know if we're going to need each other down the road if something happens to one of us. And I think, honestly, my family, excluding me in this mindset, is that I think that my dad and my sister and a few other family members just, it's like when I say it back to them the way they gave me these values and these morals and, you know, ideologies of like proper way of living in life, that I think that it's went in one ear and not the other, that they've taught me these great values that now it doesn't really matter to them anymore. It's like, I don't know. It's just like, it's all in reverse here, where I'm spewing it back out to them, but they're not really caring to hear it. Or if they're not really caring to hear it, they're just not listening.
Right, exactly. So okay, this I'll bring up this. So people are wondering if you know anything about the time where Becky said that she was almost kidnapped by Hispanic folks at Walmart. Do you know anything about that story?
Oh, I heard about that, but I don't think these Hispanics were trying to kidnap her. It was just more of they probably were just misinterpreted. They were just in the same. They were just in the same location, probably just walking in the same area, and it's just one of those weird, awkward situations. Even yourself probably has experienced where
Oh, it
where you're
was the
just
Dollar
like,
Tree. Sorry, my bad. It was the Dollar Tree. I don't know why I said Walmart. That was my fault. That was my misinterpretation. It was the Dollar Tree because she
oh,
posted
well,
about it on her Facebook. So,
well, Dollar Tree, Walmart don't matter to me. It's a store. It has aisles and people, and so I
amen.
mean,
Yeah,
I mean,
I get it, but I'm supposed to be coming with the correct facts, so they're here to correct me. So that's what they're doing.
well, yeah, I know, and but no, I just think that maybe they were just happen to be going down the same aisles or just following that direction because they were probably getting the same things. I mean, Becky is to me, I've come to realize, and she can hate me all she wants or deny it all she wants, and when she later checks this out, but I honestly think that she is hysterically paranoid schizophrenic, a person who will take things and think things that are to being in her mind real that are not real, and to her everything is true and nothing but that, and it's just like she's living in this false reality and is constantly hysterically paranoid. And it's a part of her that I'm thinking that she might need to get re-diagnosed with something else besides a slow learning disability, because like, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, how can you go around thinking that, oh, people are out to get you? I mean, people aren't out to get her. She does it to herself.
Right. Well, and she's done that. She's looked out the window at the trailer and stuff like that, and said that she was watching her neighbors next door and stuff like that. Just it was like pure paranoia. So that definitely makes sense. I see another question in the comments, and Karma wants to know how has his mom being in TikTok affected Alexander's school life? Have you heard anything about him being affected by her videos and her being the way she is? And bringing, causing problems for Alexander.
I know Carl is like me in one way when it comes to our brother Alexander. We share the same care about him, that we do not approve of what is going on in their house. Carl is very frustrated with things that involves and affects our brother. So besides just TikTok, it's an overall in general of a lot of things that are ongoing problem that Carl is a no to. He does not, I don't believe, agree with his mom using TikTok and the way she's using it. Because the lesson in life is that I bet he even, I can imagine, understands is that if you don't want people to be talking bad about you or knowing your business, then maybe you shouldn't be using the social media for that purpose. Because people, once they hear things about you personally, they're gonna, as you like to say, troll or just have like some kind of kick out of it. And it's just so crazy that she thinks that people are doing some kind of internal investigation on her, and it's like, no, you're the one that is oblivious to yourself. You're on there. You were literally talking about everything that goes in your goddamn house. And then she has the audacity. She has the audacity then to talk about me and my personal problems. It's like, okay. And then she twists the truth about certain scenarios and subjects. And it's like, all right, lady, you want this? Okay. This is what's going to happen is the way I'm looking at it. Because when she sees this interview, she's going to realize, oh, wait, I am this bad. And then again, even if she doesn't even realize it, or however she looks at it, she's still going to then come back around and still keep doing the same thing, still blame everybody else for her bullshit.
Yeah, I believe that she's going to basically say that I, paid you to be here, and stuff like that. And like I've told everybody, you guys reached out to me because Becky had reached out to you and said that I was gonna come and ruin your life and I was gonna come after you and stuff like that. So she was trying to create a problem between you and I, because she knew that I was showing the video about you and David. And then when you reached out to me, we obviously had a discussion and you knew what my intentions were. And then, she tried to construe it that, you were going to get up here and you were going to say, make it seem like you were going to be nice to me. And then you were going to like say some off the wall shit. And so because she's hiding from the truth. So I feel like she's really going to construe. I feel like she's going to go live after this and get on there and just do her big one, you know what I'm saying? And just try to have her, twist it to her way, which is going to end up making her look a lot worse than it needs to be. But we had heard that, back to freaking Alexander and his schooling, the reason we talked about that is because Alexander acts up when mom gets on TikTok because he does not want mom on TikTok, rightfully so. He literally asks her, I've heard him ask very nicely to get off, and stuff like that, and she says no, and whatnot. But I've also heard, too, in regards to back to the school thing, is that his friends had found his mom's TikTok at one point, and so he was bullied about mom being on TikTok, and so that's why he wants to, rightfully so, you know what I'm saying? Like, that could not be, I could not imagine being 16-year-old and knowing that, your mom's all over TikTok for the stuff that she says and does, and then he's sitting here asking, as his child, her child, to get off TikTok, and she won't, and only making stuff worse. That's why I said we are literally going to not, talk about him tonight, because I don't want to have anything come up and have him, be in that situation even worse.
Like I told him the night he had heard about me doing this interview, and I had to confirm it with him and reassure him that it was still going to happen. He just asked me simply just to keep him out of it, and if I do bring him up, not to bash him, and yeah, I have not. And he hopefully will be aware when he sees this too. On top of which, I told him if I get asked certain questions about him, it'll be positive things about him, as much as I can avoid from not saying anything that's negative about him. Which I have hoped I've done so far. I've not said anything quite negative about him.
No, not at all. And I talked to my, people. I went live right after I got off work, and I made it very clear that this live was not about Alexander. It was about growing up around Becky and David. And the simple fact of like the hell and the chaos that they created. We absolutely want Alexander to break the cycle like you did. We want him to, go to school. We want him to do, get a job and live a normal life. That, we weren't coming here to bash Alexander nor Carl. It was just more or less the parental lacking aspect that you guys had to endure, so we could get a better understanding of Yes, but Maurice, she does. What you guys had to endure and why Alex, is the way he is, and stuff like that, because he's a product of his, environment, and it's sad. And like somebody said, like Lynn said, so much damage has already been done. He really needs to be, in treatment, but therapy, to talk about this. But I think that's going to end up having to be something that he's done with after he gets away from living with them. And as soon as he hits an adulthood, I hope that he really does seek therapy and counseling and stuff like that, because he's going to need it. I mean, that's a traumatic childhood that he's went through. Does anybody else I'm looking through the comments. So the lot lizard has been taken care of. We talked about that. So Kate, did you want to get a box or no? Hold on, I'm trying to read through really quick because I wasn't looking. Yeah, nobody wants him to stop going to school. Like I said, I'm going to send Jonathan the information. And Jonathan will help Alexander. I guarantee he's not going to just let Alexander fall to the wayside. So, I mean, the fact that Jonathan's here and being the person that broke the, cycle, I feel like he's got a good influence for that. So they want to know why, with David being recently arrested, why did you not allow David to come and stay with you?
Well, because my dad and my girlfriend, they don't get along, due to their differences on the fact that my dad's drinking is a problem for my girlfriend. She can't handle being around even me if I choose to drink. So for me and her, if I'm going to drink, I tell her, well, this after the first time we've had our issue, I remind her, look, if I'm going to do this and you want to drink or I drink, you go in the living room, I go in the bedroom, and we keep to ourselves. And she respects that. She does that because she knows after the first time around, me having to go to jail for nothing, like over just drinking, and I didn't do nothing. Like she learned how bad that turned out for us. And so, she knows that if that's the case, that drinking can't be just around her at all. So we seclude each other in our own home, just to prevent issues. But for my dad, you can't really seclude. So him, as you've seen, he's confrontational when he gets drunk, and it doesn't matter if you seclude yourself. That he will become a person that will get personal and close in your face and try to provoke you into like a physical altercation. And as he even said, like I said earlier, I don't know why, but I think it's the Irish in me. This is why I like to do it. It's like really, like, is that your only reason now? Like, cause like that is the most stupidest thing I ever heard in my life. Like to blame our ethnicity of our genealogy of where we come from different backgrounds of life. Like, I mean, the Irish, okay, they might like to drink, but I can tell you that a lot of them will say, no, we don't use our nationality to go and start fights. I mean, that might be a thing you might see on television, and there's like a pub or a bar scene, but that's in the goddamn TV shows and movies. That is not even in reality. And and then you, like, with my girlfriend, she has her mental disabilities. She is apparently not tolerated by my dad for having these disabilities like schizophrenia and depression and anxiety, not being much of a talker with my family because of how uncomfortable they made her feel. And so to keep the issue from not occurring in my home, I can't have him here. One, because one of my ex-girlfriends who I was with that lived with me had caused some damage on the outside of the home. I had to clean up the mess, and plus her taking one of her friends' head and bashing it through these 2-bedroom windows I have that are still need to be replaced. I have boards on them because can't afford the new windows yet. But my landlord said I cannot have no more of this kind of issues or people in my home again, except for only me and my girlfriend. Because after what the last one did, even my dad can't be here. As much as I may want to help my dad, but I know also if that wasn't the case in my situation with my living situation, I still wouldn't be able to help him because it's going to lead to me probably being in a certain predicament where me and him are at like fisticuffs, and I don't want to be in that situation, nor having it to where him or I ends up in jail and then me losing our home and me and her out on the street and then me having to like rehome my cat because I have a cat that is just a year old now and a few months. And this cat I barely had. She's a nice cat. She has her own little childlike animal behaviors. Right. But that is something that is coming to where she's realizing herself as a cat and how to behave in the home. So I mean, and I love this cat. I love my girlfriend. I'm not gonna jeopardize my life and my own little family just for him.
Exactly. You did a lot of work by breaking the cycle and becoming independent with, being not like they are. And so for you to keep him out of your home and setting those healthy boundaries, is something that you should be proud of because, like you said, that's your dad and you want to help him, but you've got to respect your house and make sure that your boundaries are safe and, that you have a nurturing, safe, quiet environment, and that would bringing David there because we all know that he drinks while he's out on PBT because they know how to rig it. Because my ex did, he knew exactly when he could start drinking, how much he could drink, and still go blow for his PBT at night. So, we already know that one. But I just want to kind of tell you this is not really a question, more or less a statement. So there's somebody in our chat. Her name is Kate. She used to be a mod for your mother or your stepmom, Becky. Sorry. And so she went to South Dakota, went to Rapid City for a family function, and on the way back home to Nebraska, she had made a pit stop at Becky's because she just low-key kind of wanted to see the truth behind it. And so she stopped and had met Becky and the family or whatever. And Becky has now blocked Kate because Kate refuses to give her $400 to, quote unquote, deal with the bed bugs and all that good stuff, and won't give Kate Kate won't give her money on demand. Becky has since blocked her and talked shit about it, about Kate, saying that, she backstabbed her and stuff like that. So I just want to let you know that there is somebody even in here that has tried to offer her a friendship and such like that. And because money didn't come out of it like she wanted it to, she blocked her. And you don't have to say sorry or anything, I just wanted to let you know. But yeah, so whatever. So I know you're good. Does anybody else have a question? Because I literally only told them that it was going to be an hour. We're going on 2 hours. Not that I care, because this was really interesting and it needed to be said. But does anybody else have a question? Or no? I mean, we can always come back and do a Q&A too later if necessary, because you're very well spoken. I like listening to you. You're very good at speaking. Anybody else have a question? You got 3 seconds to say question or box. Otherwise, I'm gonna quit. Just kidding. Does Alexander have special needs? Has he been diagnosed with anything that you know of?
I've heard that he has, and I can probably actually confirm that. I think it's true. He has anxiety and depression, and if which you have seen how he is, and in their home, just by how he acts and behaves, in that home, I guess y'all can agree that it is a definite that he has depression and definite anxiety. As for him being properly diagnosed, I don't know that for certain. But I would hope he had been diagnosed, because if they really care about him as parents, like they've always told me, then I would hope that they've done that and get that medically, documented. But, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what we hope to, is that, and if he doesn't, hopefully he can, maybe that's something. I mean, I know it's not your responsibility because you're not the parent and stuff like that, but, maybe help him if he hasn't been diagnosed, help him so that way he can, get the best turnout of life and, hopefully, become a member of society that doesn't hate the world because of what his parents put him through and stuff like that. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to say that we're going to wrap this up because, like I said, it was only supposed to be an hour, and it has been 2 hours and 20 minutes, which is fine, or whatever, but so I wanted to roll on this. I just want to thank you for coming up here, Jonathan, and taking your time out to answer questions. I want to tell the chat, thank you for being respectful and being amazing and not being disrespectful. Thank you to my mods for holding it down. And thanks for everybody for showing up. And, if we end up coming up with more questions or whatever the case may be, I'm sure we can schedule another time where we hang out and just kind of do whatever needs to be done. So, they all are telling you, thank you. They love you. They learned a lot. And this needed to be done is because, your mom has been a product of, Becky, has been a product of, TikTok for a very long time. There's been different groups that have covered her. So this answered a lot of questions for a lot of people. So this was very, very good. Very amazing. So awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to end this and then that way we can get back to our regular scheduled program. So is anybody going to guess on how long until Becky goes live? Are we saying 10 minutes? Is that what we're guessing? Awesome. Well, thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Alvina, for letting him use your phone for 2.5 hours. I hope you're not bored as frick.
No, she was busy doing something.
All right. Well, and then I know all my friends have I think she got her appeal. I heard she won her appeal, is what we have heard, but has not confirmed. So maybe she might still be nannered. I don't know, but rumor has it that she won her appeal. So I guess we will find out. No. But all right, I'm going to end the live so that way we can get over. No, Sarah, go fly a kite. This will be posted on the YT. The Real Llama will post this. She is my professional photographer because I'm famous. No, I'm just kidding. But if you want to start it and watch it from the beginning, it is going to be on the YT on the Real Llama shortly. I am not starting over per Sarah's request because no. So all right. Well, thank you everybody for coming. I hope you got a lot of questions answered and are full of understanding about what it's like to be in a Fortney home. And all right. I'm sorry, Sarah. I love you, but no. I know. Okay, I know she's not banned. I know. We know she's not bananaed. But all right. Well, I'm going to end it, and then we'll see you again sometime. Yes, this will be on YT. Did you not just hear me, Deshaun? Jeez Louise. The Real Llama will have it on her YT. I'll post a link to it. Okay. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for coming, guys.